Confident English, and welcome to your weekly Confident English lesson where we focus on the skills and the language that you need in English to say what you want. If you've been using English for a long time, maybe you use English at work with colleagues every day, or maybe you've moved to an English-speaking country for university or permanently, and you want to become friends with the people you work with and the people who live close to you. I think it's true in every language, every culture, that as we get older, it's more difficult to meet new people and to make friends. But it's particularly challenging when we have to do it in a second language. We're worried about our grammar, we're worried about how we pronounce words. Will other people understand us? Will they think that we sound funny? And then we also need to worry about, how do you become friends with people in another language? How do you connect to other people and build a relationship? That is exactly what we're going to focus on today. We're going to look at common strategies and the language that native speakers use to build connections and friendships, to show that they're friendly and open. I want to share that language with you so that you can start using it and build friendships more easily in English. In every culture, there are different methods we use to show that we're friendly, and today we're going to look at 5 methods in English. We're going to talk about the importance of listening and showing how you listen in English. 2, verbal feedback. 3, asking questions and what kinds of questions to ask. Number 4, how to be helpful in English. And finally, number 5, focusing on the positive. So let's get started with number 1, listening to others and showing that you're listening. Listening, of course, is an essential part of connecting to other people. It shows that you're interested in someone else and that you want to understand them. Maybe you want to understand their opinion, their point of view, how they think. And the best way to do that is to listen. But in English, we also use different strategies to show that we're listening. What I mean by that is, while you're listening, you might want to clarify something. You might want to check your understanding of what someone said. Or while listening, you might want to build the conversation. Maybe you have an idea or a comment to help move the conversation forward. While someone is sharing an opinion or a story, you might want to show that you value their opinion, or show interest and encourage them to keep talking. In English, we say this is validating what someone says. For all of this, we have some very common expressions that we use in English, and you can use the same next time you want to show that you're listening. For example, if you want to check your understanding or clarify what someone said, you might use something like, "From what I understand, you're saying that," and then you would continue to summarize what you understand. Or if you're not sure what someone means, you might say, "So what exactly are you saying? I'm not sure I understand you clearly." Or while you're listening, if you want to continue the conversation and you want to keep it going forward, you might say something like, "That's a really interesting point. I see what you're saying. But have you considered?" And then you would offer your own opinion or a question. And finally, when you want to validate what someone has said, you want to show that you value their comments, you could say something like, "I really appreciate you saying that." Or, "Could you say a little bit more about that? Your comments are really interesting." Now, there are so many ways that we can show that we're listening. We can check understanding, validate comments, and I've shared with you many more examples of what you can say in English in the online lesson. But now let's go on to step number 2, which is using verbal feedback. And this is very connected to showing that you're listening by checking understanding, validating comments, or continuing the conversation. But here, you're using little sounds or words while the other person is speaking. In some cultures, it's okay and maybe even important to stay completely silent while you're listening to someone, but that doesn't work in English. If you watch a conversation between native speakers, the people who are listening will often make sounds like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, ah, mm. All of those little sounds show interest, curiosity. They say, I'm listening to what you're saying, and this is interesting to me. While listening, you'll also hear native speakers say things like, I see. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, that's crazy. Really? And again, all of those words that we say are simply a way to show that we're listening, that we are interested, and we want to hear more from you. These are essential ways to show interest and to be friendly in an English conversation. Once again, I've given you many more examples of sounds and words that you can use while you're listening to someone else, whether it's your neighbor next door or a colleague at work, so that you can show that you are interested and use strategies to show that you're friendly in English. Now, of course, to build a connection, you have to start a conversation. You have to get to know someone. So that means asking questions, and that is strategy number 3. Many people don't understand the art of asking questions. Sometimes when we get nervous or we're not sure what to do in a conversation, we just talk and talk and talk, and we forget to ask questions to other people. But the ability to ask questions is an essential skill to show that you are interested or curious about other people. You want to get to know them, and of course, it's part of showing that you're friendly in English. So how do you do that? Which questions should you ask? Some people would say that this is where you make small talk, and absolutely that's true. This is where you can ask those questions that don't have a lot of meaning or depth. For example, you could talk about the weather or sports. But if you're like me, you probably hate small talk. You want to find more meaningful connections. So instead, I like to focus on 4 things, the acronym FORD, to talk about family, occupation, recreation or hobbies, and dreams, people's dreams for the future, their goals. Those are 4 categories that you can always talk about. It's always polite and it's always acceptable to ask questions on those topics. For more great questions that you can use to start a conversation and show interest, show friendliness by asking questions, just visit the online lesson. Strategy number 4 is a fantastic strategy to use at work and also as you're getting to know people where you live. And this is be helpful. Everybody has a bad day when everything goes wrong and you're desperate for someone to do something to help you. It is one of the best ways to connect and show that you're friendly. So if you see a colleague at work who is having a bad day or they have a huge deadline that they have to accomplish and they're having a difficult time, they're behind in their work, you could offer to help them by saying, "Can I help you with anything?" Or, "It sounds like you have a lot to do. Can I help you?" Or simply, "What can I do to help?" In English, we have a great idiomatic expression that we also use when offering help, which is, Do you need me to take anything off your plate? Or can I take anything off your plate? And what that means is there a task, a job that you can do to help them? Maybe they have a long list of to-do items and they would love to give you one of those to-do items so that they can get their work finished. And finally, strategy number 5 for showing that you're friendly in English is to focus on the positive. In English, we have a slang term, Debbie Downer. And we often say, don't be a Debbie Downer. This slang term comes from a popular comedy TV show in the United States. And a Debbie Downer is someone who always focuses on the negative. They are pessimistic. They always find something wrong, something that won't work. And no one likes to be around a Debbie Downer. In fact, people who are Debbie Downers make everyone else feel depressed or upset. So to avoid that, you can always focus on the positive. Even if it's a stressful situation at work or the weather is terrible outside, if you can find something positive to talk about or something humorous, it will make everyone around you smile and feel more optimistic. And with that, you have 5 strategies and the language that you need to show that you are friendly in English, to help you create a connection and build a friendship. As always, I do want to hear from you, and I have a couple challenge questions from you. I'd love to know what strategies you use to help you develop friendships in English. Do you have questions that you like to ask to start a conversation? Or if you're struggling, if it's a challenge for you to get to know other English speakers where you live or where you work, what is most challenging for you? What are you most afraid of? I would love for you to share that with me so that I can help you find solutions that will give you the English skills you need to communicate with confidence and develop friendships. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to give it a thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe to this channel, and share it on Facebook. Have a fantastic Wednesday, and I'll see you next week for your Confident English lesson.